Welcome to the Nick and Jimmy Show. On today's episode, we have Massimo Lecas. Massimo, welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here today.
So Massimo, talk to us. Ourselves and many other people want to know. First of all, you're very known in the restaurant industry, but talk, how did you get involved? What do you do now?
In December 91, we opened Buonanotte. That turned out to be a very, very successful restaurant. And prior to that, we were just like young kids that were going out, Montrealers, really like not from, from typical immigrant family, but we were out, we were having fun, and we were noticing what was missing in the Montreal scene. And every time we travel, because through the fashion industry in our university, we always traveled. We always wanted to go see the trendy places, the happening places. So we'd go to Milan, we'd go to New York, we'd go to Paris, we'd go everywhere. And every time we traveled, we'd always say, how come Montreal doesn't have this? How come Montreal doesn't have that? And this and that. We should open this, we should open that. And then one day, out of the blue, we just put our heads together and we said, okay, you know what? This is what we're going to do. Which back then, when supper clubs didn't exist and, putting music that was a little more than Pavarotti or Eros Ramazzotti or whatever, was like, pushing the envelope, right? So we opened the restaurant and back then the word trendy was a new word, so we used to be, now it's overused, but we tried basically just to open a trendy Italian restaurant. And you gotta remember, back then the landscape was very much like, restaurants were the typical checkered white and red tables, the Chianti bottle, and there was, like I said, the music had nothing to do with it. The waiters were run-of-the-mill waiters with white shirts and black pants and the pouch in front of them. So, we just wanted to melt the fashion world and the trendy world and the young energy that we had and everything that we seen into a restaurant. So a restaurant, yes, primarily serves food. Hopefully it serves good food, but we wanted to make it an experience above and beyond getting a menu, ordering, and eating. So we put attention in decor. We put attention in hiring designers. We put attention in the people that we wanted to work with. We wanted to work with a young staff and get that energy, the uniforms that they would wear, the music that played inside the place. And all of this was, in 91, was fairly new. And people were coming back from Miami and telling us, oh my God, we went to a restaurant and then at a certain point, midnight, the music started playing, we started dancing on tables, and it was like, we knew that because we had traveled, right? And maybe that was the birth of the supper club, or maybe that was the birth of making the restaurant experience more than just eating, right? And initially, that was what we tried to do. And you know what? I mean, we opened right away in December in the middle of a snowstorm, really not knowing what we were doing, really not knowing. Like when I say I've never worked a day in a restaurant prior to that day, and never even waited a table or bartended or nothing, none of us. The three of us had never worked, but we had this vision. Mostly it was the vision of what we wanted to bring to our city, so our friends could see it. And at the beginning you just open because you think, all our friends are going to come and support us. You're not even thinking of the clients that you don't even know, right? You're just thinking. It wasn't, and I don't know, it was just all heart and soul and gut, that got us there. And we did endless hours, and right away the place took off and was accepted by the Montreal scene and the Montreal diners. They loved our place. And 3 months after we opened, we get a crazy phone call and somebody starts telling me that we have a very important people that want to come to your restaurant. They have a private room, and I'm way back then. I'm way younger and a little bit cockier and more, more testosterone flying through my veins. And I'm like, listen, guys, if you want to come, you can come. If you don't want to come, it's okay. It's no big deal. No, don't be like that. Da, da, da. I hang up. Who's coming? It was U2. And
wow.
And 91 U2, when they're like
huge,
humongous, they're rock stars. They're not humanitarians. They're still rock stars in 91, So a couple of days later, we had the Montreal Gazette restaurant review that had to come in, and the lady called us and goes, listen, we'd like to come and take pictures. I go, oh, well, I'm happy you want to come and take pictures, but just a couple of days ago, U2 came to the restaurant. So when she wrote the article, I remember the headline, when you're hot, and right now there's no one hotter than Buonanotte. And this is 3 months after we opened.
Congratulations.
And
that's
then
awesome.
We just went on a run that lasted 27 years.
Wow. Congratulations. Beautiful.
It was a hell of a run. I mean, listen, 27 years is not,
it's not so.
I can tell you a lot of stories, right? It's not just, okay.
Yeah. It wasn't always a rosy and dandy.
Cruise control from that day on.
So some of our followers on Facebook have a few questions.
Sure.
For successful people, and we consider you to be one of them.
Thank you.
When you were getting started, what did you do to overcome your difficulties and challenges?
Listen, the first time you see a problem for the first time, it's always the hardest one, the hardest one to deal, right? With age and experience and everything, as you see the problem reoccur, experience kicks in and you know how to handle it. But what I could tell you today is that there's always a solution. Tomorrow will always come around. Sometimes it's very like, oh my God, what are we gonna do now? But you learn with time to know that you are able to overcome almost anything, and have the right people in your back pocket, have the right professionals surround you, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's an accountant, whether it's just a good friend of yours that is doing well in business, or somebody you can go and get some advice from. Have good sounding boards, have good background and everything, and I've always been like the over-analytical one of our partners, and I analyze stuff a lot. So yeah, put all the options in front of you, make the smartest decision. Sometimes you don't have the time to make a lot of. You got to make spur of the moment decisions, and if you make the wrong one, you live with it and you go forward. Yeah. You can't start thinking coulda, woulda, shoulda, because that gets you nowhere.
Exactly.
So. And as time goes by, you learn how to deal with problems. But I'll tell you one thing, new problems will come
no matter what.
And
as long as you focus on solutions.
You never get to a point where you're like, I got this. There's always going to be, problems that are going to come your way that are head scratchers, and you're like, oh my God, how do I figure this one out?
But there's the saying, more problems equal opportunity too, right?
Yes, 100%. That's everything. If you're not anxious about something and you're not nervous about something or whatever, it's almost like, okay, maybe things are too easy. Maybe I should be challenging myself a little more. You know what I'm saying?
It becomes stale.
Yeah. So we've always put ourselves in a position where the water's not here, but the water is always here. And if it ever went down here, we found another project or whatever.
Exactly.
It keeps us young. It keeps us active. It keeps us full of energy. So that's probably.
You basically don't stay in a comfortable place. You always get out of your comfort zone.
100%.
Right now, what do you do right now?
Right now, we a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago, we had this. We had just closed down the Globe that went on a 22-year run that we're very, very proud of. And we all found ourselves back at Buonanotte, right? And the original partners were all at Buonanotte. We're like, okay, it's getting tight again. So we had a couple of projects that we were tinkering with. And we said, sure. The only thing is that exactly 3 years ago, we opened 3 places in a month. And that was another insanity move that we did. So we opened Jellyfish 3 years ago in, call it, November. Then we opened Porchetta early December. And then we opened Fiorellino in mid-December. In that 1 month in November 2015, we opened 3 brand new businesses. And honestly, I'm extremely proud to say that all 3 are extreme successes, and they're a far cry from what we've done, what we had done till then. So to me, it's I have a lot of satisfaction to be able to say that, you know what, you're not a one-trick pony, you know, and the guys, they call us the Buonanotte guys, you know, we did something that was not, you know, in our wheelhouse or in our lane, you know. We went and we went to the right and have done very, very well with these 3 new projects. Now Fiorellino will be opening a second location on Laurier in the next month or so.
Which is a great restaurant. I love the pasta and
pizza. Amazing.
Amazing, guys.
Love it.
Yeah, which is just down the road from you
right.
guys.
Yes,
exactly. And now we're opening our second location. Then we're opening Porchetta. We're at 3 locations now in Terrebonne, in St-Laurent, and the original in Little Italy.
Okay.
Jellyfish is still where it is, and we're also opening a concept with Vince Guzzo from the cinemas, and we're opening a pizzeria next to his theaters that is not going to be called Fiorellino, but it's going to be called Giulietta. So we're also starting a brand new concept and brand called Giulietta.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, you have 2 kids, right?
Yes, 2 daughters,
How
2
do you
wonderful daughters.
Awesome. Congrats. How do you manage your time with all these ventures
man.
Your kids and your family?
Listen, I have a very, very strong team. You're only as strong as your team.
Absolutely.
From my partners, number one, we support each other endlessly, and the associations and the partners that we take into our projects. Every project that we have different partners, and they all come in and give us a lot of support and a big hand. So someone's always watching each other's back one way or another. And then your staff at work, and 27 years later, you learn to work yourself out a schedule where you try to manage everything. Do you still have to work Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night? 1,000,000%. I can't think of the last time that those nights were free, or you're at home with the kids or whatnot. But it's like it's a passion and it's a love, and the first thing I would have to tell anyone that wants to get into this business is that, more than anything, don't think of what you're going to put on the menu or how much you're going to sell it or where you're going to think of, like, the life you're choosing and the lifestyle you're choosing.
Yes.
Because it's going to impact a lot on your family. It's going to impact a lot on your future family if you plan on making, kids or whatnot. And it's definitely, there's a lot of us doing it, right? There's a lot of people in the restaurant industry. It's a $1 billion industry across.
A lot of competition.
And there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of us doing it, right? So our Saturday nights might be a Monday night because it's a quieter night at the restaurant, so you get to do your family stuff on a Monday night rather than a Saturday night. But that's the biggest thing, is to know that there will be enormous sacrifices and dedication, but with the love and passion that you have for the industry, it comes easy. It better come easy, because or else you're in the wrong industry. Yeah.
And like Nick said earlier, the first 5 years is tough for any business, right?
Yeah.
It's all about having the right mindset, correct?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of restaurants that are opening, and 2 weeks later, or maybe 1 year later, they shut down, right? So for new restaurant owners that are upcoming, what advice can you give them? Like maybe like 1-2 sentences or something?
Listen, new restaurateurs, what I would ask everyone to consider is like, what are you thinking of doing? Like really developing your concept is you're speaking to someone who thought he was reinventing the wheel. I wasn't, but in my head and in my brain, I thought I was reinventing the wheel, and that was the biggest source of energy and motivation that kept me going on a day to day. And, that determination and that place, if you want to open an Italian restaurant at the corner of my house because I don't want to take the bus to work or whatever, and I'm going to serve the same 6 items that everybody serves in an Italian restaurant, you may close a year later, right? But you got to know where the up and coming neighborhoods are. You got to know, what you want to bring to the table that may not exist already, and then just that is enough to be like, wow, let's do this, and it's like that's the determination that keeps you going and keeps you going.
Interesting. Good.
Yeah.
And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, 10 years?
Well, right now we're developing Fiorellino and Giulietta and Porchetta. So and it's the first crack I'm taking at less boutique-y type of restaurants, because Buonanotte was pretty much an institution. Globe was an institution. Rosalie was an institution. Now we're doing stuff where we're thinking of the logo better be kid friendly, and what do we do? Let's put this in there so they could have fun, and let's like just the other day we mentioned, should we have a kids menu? I've never done a restaurant with a kids menu, right? So now I'm going into that world also, because probably in this point of my life I'm also affected by it. So we're developing brands and developing systems and developing methods of work where we could I never want to use the word copy paste, but where we could bring the concept that we're bringing to different neighborhoods or different cities or whatever. So in the next 5 years, my new challenge is to dedicate myself to this. Yeah.
How do you find the right chefs? Because rumor has it there's a shortage of chefs in Montreal.
Good question.
Listen, I've always been very, very finicky about our food and pro-Italian, and this is the way it's done, and blah, 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 and pushing the envelope of that. And we always found ourselves bringing people in from Italy to understand immediately the message that we wanted. We felt that at times, when you were working with people from your own background, it was way easier to pass a message to the kitchen, right? And we didn't have, there are many, many kids from Italian origins that work in restaurants in Montreal, but rarely do we stumble upon them. So we always found ourselves where we brought them in. So for us, that was a big thing. And when we talk about surrounding yourselves with the right people, you have the right immigration lawyer, and you have the right person that knows how to handle these people, how to bring them in, how to adapt them into the city. And many times I've gone to the airport and pick up a chef and his family and find them an apartment and find them the school, and we've continuously done that.
Wow.
So it's also something that I'm very proud of, because we keep bringing people to the city of Montreal. I think it's like anytime you bring outside talent to the city, it teaches. Eventually this chef will come into a kitchen in Montreal and teach 4 Montrealers how to do this. And now these 4 Montrealers have those recipes and bring it to other people. And now I bring in somebody else and he teaches another 4 recipes to another 4 guys, and then
duplication.
So, like 27 years of this, there's a lot, right? So very, very happy about that. And also, one thing that I should mention is working with our suppliers is very, very important, because again, 91 balsamic vinegar, you could have maybe found it, maybe couldn't find it. Buffalo mozzarella, impossible to find. Extra virgin olive oil, very, very limited amounts of that stuff. So mascarpone to do tiramisu, which now is world renowned, everybody knows it. But in 91, mascarpone used to come around at Christmas time because it was something that you did at Christmas. Now it's at Metro and Provigo and whatever. So I'm getting to see what pushing one little domino can lead to.
Exactly.
Now we have I'm friends with a lot of the soccer players from the Impact that play that are from Italian origins or whatever. They come, oh Max, where do we go here? Where do we go here? We bring them to some grocery stores and they're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in Italy. That didn't
exist.
25 years ago
Didn't exist.
Didn't exist. It existed, but a very, very, very little form of it, right? So those are that's the Massimo telling the chef, telling the distributor, bringing it in, making people believe that it'll sell, and now eventually it's at the Provigo in Terrebonne, so it's like
beautiful.
And this will keep going, this will keep
innovation.
So if you like this content and want more content, like our Facebook page, Instagram page, YouTube channel, The Nick and Jimmy Show. Like this page and share it. Share it. Thank you.